Most people think relationships fail because of big problems. Psychology says the opposite. Research in behavioral science shows that the brain doesn't break trust in one moment. It breaks it through patterns. And those patterns are built from things so small, you don't even register them. A delayed response. A distracted tone. A moment of emotional absence. Not once, but repeatedly. And here's what most people don't realize. Your brain is constantly scanning for something called emotional predictability. It is not asking, do they love me? It is asking, can I predict how they will show up? Because predictability equals safety. And safety is the foundation of attachment. This is why two people can be in the same relationship and feel completely different levels of connection. One feels secure, the other feels uncertain. Not because love is different, but because consistency is. You see, the human brain is not designed to measure love logically. It measures it emotionally through patterns, through repetition, through what happens over and over again in small, almost invisible moments. This is rooted in something psychologists call microvalidation. Small signals that tell the brain you matter here. Eye contact when someone is speaking. A pause before responding. A tone that matches the emotion in the room. These are not dramatic actions, but they are powerful because they regulate the nervous system. They tell the brain you are safe to stay open. But when these signals are inconsistent, the brain does something automatic. It starts to protect. It becomes hyper-aware. It analyzes. It questions. Not because something big happened, but because something small kept happening. And the brain connected the dots. This is where most people get it wrong. They think their partner is overreacting. But from a psychological perspective, the reaction is not to the moment. It is to the pattern. Because the brain does not store isolated events. It stores emotional experiences. And once a pattern is recognized, it becomes expectation. If someone repeatedly feels unheard, their brain begins to expect disconnection, even in moments where it isn't there. This is called predictive processing. The brain stops experiencing reality as it is, and starts experiencing it as it expects it to be. And this is how relationships slowly disconnect without anyone fully understanding why. Because now, both people are reacting, not to each other, but to the meaning they've built over time. One person thinks, I'm trying. The other feels and not being felt. And both are true, but they are not aligned. Another layer to this is emotional attunement. The ability to recognize and respond to another person's internal state. Not just what they say, but what they feel. Because communication is not just verbal. It is emotional. It is energetic. It is subtle. And when emotional attunement is low, something happens. One person expresses. The other responds logically. One person seeks connection. The other offers solutions. And now both feel misunderstood. Because what was needed was not correction. It was resonance. This is why small things matter so much. Because they are not just actions. They are signals. Signals that tell the brain, stay open, or start protecting. And once protection begins, connection decreases. Gradually, quietly, without announcement. People don't suddenly become distant. So the next time you're with someone you care about, slow down. Fais attention. Not to the big things, but to the small ones. Because in psychology, it's not the intensity of a moment that builds connection. It's the consistency of it. And if you can master that, if you can become aware of the patterns you're creating without realizing it, you won't just improve your relationship. You will completely change the way it feels. Not through effort alone, but through understanding. So don't overlook the small things. Because the small things are the whole thing. Journey with me for a few minutes. The room is quiet. Not tense. Just quiet. Two people sit across from each other. Not far, but not close enough. You would not call it distance, but you would feel it. She looks at him. Not fully. Just enough to check if he notices. He doesn't. Not because he doesn't care, but because in his mind, nothing is wrong. And this is where it begins. Not with a fight. Not with a mistake. But with something small. Something almost invisible. She sighs. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just enough for someone paying attention to hear it. He shifts slightly. Still nothing. In his mind, silence means peace. In her mind, silence asks a question. Do you see me? Do you feel me here? Do you notice what just changed? He picks up his phone. Not to escape. Just to pass time. But intention does not equal impact. Because in that moment, something happens. She interprets. Not consciously, but instantly. He is not present. He is not here with me. And now the meaning begins to build. This is how relationships shift. Not through big events, but through small, repeated interpretations, moments that seem insignificant, but are felt deeply. He finally looks up. You good? Simple. Direct. To him it is care. To her it feels like distance. Because she is not asking if she is good. She is asking if she is seen. She pauses. I'm fine. And now both of them believe something different. He believes everything is okay. She believes something is wrong but cannot be explained. The gap widens. Not because of conflict, but because of missed meaning. This is the psychology of small things. The tone of a voice. The delay before a response. The absence of eye contact. None of these are loud, but all of them are felt. And the human mind does not ignore what it feels. It explains it, even when the explanation is incomplete. Later that evening, they sit closer. Not intentionally, just naturally. Their hands almost touch. Almost. But not quite. And in that almost, there is hesitation. Not fear. Just uncertainty. Who reaches first? Who closes the gap? He moves slightly. Stops. She notices. Does nothing. And again, meaning is created. He thinks, maybe she needs space. She thinks, maybe he doesn't want to. And now both wait. Not because they don't want connection, but because they are protecting themselves from misreading it. This is how distance grows. Quietly. Patiently. Without announcement. The next day, he does something thoughtful. He brings her coffee. Her favorite. No words. Just action. To him, this is love. Effort. Care. She smiles. But something is missing. Not because the gesture is small, but because the meaning she needed was different. She needed presence yesterday. He gave effort today. Both are valuable, but they are not the same. And this is where most people get lost. They give what makes sense to them, not what is needed by the other person. And when it is not received the same way, confusion appears. He feels unappreciated. She feels unseen. And neither understands why. But the answer is always in the small things. The way someone listens. Not just hearing, but responding. The way someone looks at you. Not just seeing, but noticing. The way someone reacts to your emotion. Not fixing. Not dismissing, but staying with it. Because connection is not built through solutions. It is built through presence. Through attention. Through consistency in small moments. Later that night, something shifts. Not dramatically. Just slightly. She speaks. Not about everything. Just something simple. He listens. But this time he stays. No phone. No interruption. Just presence. And something changes. Not in the words, but in the feeling. Because for the first time in a while, she feels received. And he notices something too. Her tone softens. Her energy shifts. Not because the problem is solved, but because the connection is restored. And that is the truth most people miss. Relationships do not survive on big moments. They survive on small, repeated signals of care. On attention. On presence. On the willingness to notice what is not being said. Because most of the time, love is not lost. It is just not translated. And when you learn to see the small things, everything changes. Playlet 2, what you don't say matters most. They are walking side by side. Close enough to touch. But not touching. The conversation is light. Safe. Nothing serious. Nothing deep. But something is missing. And both of them feel it. Neither of them says it. Because the absence is subtle. Not enough to question, but enough to notice. He makes a joke. She laughs. But not fully. He notices. Just slightly. And in that moment, a choice appears. Ignore it. Or lean into it. He ignores it. Not because he doesn't care, but because it feels small. And small things are easy to dismiss. But small things are where truth lives. She slows her pace. Just a little. He keeps walking. Now there is a gap. Not physical, but emotional. Because pace is not just movement. It is alignment. And when alignment shifts, connection feels it. She looks at him. He is still talking. Still relaxed. Still unaware. And something inside her closes. Not completely. Just slightly. Enough to protect. Enough to withdraw. This is how emotional distance begins. Not with arguments, but with moments where something could have been noticed, but wasn't. They reach a quiet street. Silence settles in. He feels comfortable. She feels exposed. Because silence does not mean the same thing to both of them. For him, it is peace. For her, it is space waiting to be filled. And when it is not filled, the mind begins to wonder. What changed? What does this mean? Did I do something? Is something wrong? The brain does not like unanswered questions. So it creates answers. even when they are not accurate. He checks his watch. She sees it. And in that single second, a story forms.